Now let's get into some fun theories, some truth-seeking ideas, shall we call them? I'll start. So
Please.
My favorite one is from May 8th. Hasaka Trades on Twitter says, pure conjecture. Feels like we saw some of the biggest firms engage in unholy warfare yesterday. Stage had been perfectly set. Low liquidity weekend, depeg fears, macro backdrop, corn, referring to Bitcoin, teasing around key levels, etc. We all know how much redacted, referring to Alameda, loves to initiate a cascade. And then he tweets out some like photo of like mystical gods or some shit. This was the day of the Luna collapse, day after. So the idea here is that SBF is the one and Alameda is the one initially triggering the Luna depeg, the UST depeg. This is out of some like old vengeance spite towards Suzu in specific, who he like there's these old tweets about Suzu just shitting on Alameda in 2019 about how these guys are like he refers to them as like Bernie Madoff, like back in like 2019. Yeah, so Suzu, like people are like resurfacing all these tweets from 2019 about him like sharing around the pitch deck and saying like, what the fuck is this? This is all bullshit. Like, don't trust these guys. And then he even tweets out when they're launching FTX, he was like the same guys like sharing a pitch deck about like risk-free returns on their hedge fund are now trying to launch a BitMEX competitor. Like, what the fuck? So then the theory goes that Sam has this like personal vendetta towards Three Arrows Capital, Suzu. We covered this in the Terra Luna deep dive that we did once it collapsed. But this all got triggered because there was this like a few hour window where the pool, like the tri-party pool,
Curve pool, yep.
Curve pool, it gets like rebalanced basically, and there's like way less UST in there, and so during that time basically somebody kind of triggered this attack, which caused it to depeg and like basically caused this massive cascade after, because of the Luna collapse. Soon after, Three Arrows Capital collapsed, leading to a ton of other contagion in the market. Yeah, that's a theory. Yeah, I love it. And then it goes, CZ, the theory goes, knew about this all along, and reached out to Sam and basically tried to, convince him to not do this. SBF did not listen, which basically triggered CZ to go full nuclear against Alameda, FTT, and FTX.
So this is really interesting because, I was talking to someone earlier today. I was like, hey, like one thing I don't understand is if you're CZ, right, you're the earliest investor in FTX, right? And you decide you want some liquidity, right? So you ask, hey, can I sell my equity stake and get some tokens in exchange? And Sam says, yeah, for sure. Here's $2 billion worth of BUSD and FTT, right? Mm-hmm. And this is what CZ tweeted about. He's like, we got $2 billion worth of FTT and BUSD. And I was like, I don't understand why it's any better. Like, why would you want FTT rather than FTX equity, right? FTT is like a pseudo equity token that's like arguably tied to the performance of FTX as an exchange, because it's exposed to their like revenue or net income or whatever, right? But like, it's so much cleaner to just have an equity stake, right? Yeah. Like, if you really wanted liquidity, why wouldn't you have already started selling that off? Mm-hmm. And the person I was talking to was like, well, maybe CZ wanted to have something that he could pull the trigger
A
on,
chip.
some kind of, a chip that he could play
Yeah.
in case things went wrong, to
Yeah.
have some kind of power over FTX. Because if you have FTX equity, you can't do anything about
Right.
that with that, right? But if you have FTT, you can sell that, or even just like threaten to sell that into the open market, kicking off this cascade that would bury FTX, like we're seeing today.
Yeah.
That's 4D chess.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Look, here's one thing I'll finish this thought with. There are many rumors that Hasaka is CZ. Of course, who knows with Anons, but
wait, what? There are?
yeah. For years, this has been a massive rumor. But anyways, I don't believe it. But anyways, this guy doesn't miss that often. He's right
He's
quite
good.
a lot. He's good.
Yeah.
Who knows? We may never know. All right, Matt, you have one that you like. What's your conspiracy?
I guess it was that it was this, like, CZ was just wielding this power over SBF the entire time. But I have another. Oh no, I have another one. This is fucking wild.
Okay.
So we forgot to cover a little bit of the contagion. I think we should touch on that real quick. So FTX declares bankruptcy, and then it's like, before FTX declared bankruptcy, it's mirroring Luna quite a bit, where, like, everyone's like, look, don't worry, we have very little Luna exposure or no Luna exposure. And then Luna tanks. And when it actually goes to zero and is good and dead, everyone has to kind of slowly admit, like, what their actual Luna exposure was.
Right.
FTX declaring Chapter 11 is like that actually cemented going to zero moment that, like, forced a lot of people to start to own up to, like, whether or not they did have exposure to FTX.
Yeah.
And so, there's funds like Gala Capital, like they had half of their balance sheet on FTX. That hurts, right?
Same with Star Atlas.
You have projects like Star Atlas that were keeping a lot of their assets on FTX, right?
Yeah. Multicoin, 10% of their assets on FTX, plus basically all of their tokens were, like, either liquid or illiquid Solana-based shitcoins, specifically around SBF. Like, I don't even know how much they had in FTT or in Serum or in Solana, or so there is a ton. So, like, a ton.
Well, I think and then you have BlockFi, right? Like BlockFi Voyager, which were both going to get acquired by FTX. Like, now they're not, and so BlockFi halted all operations, right?
The rumor is that BlockFi
right?
had all of their treasury on FTX.
On FTX, well, so BlockFi was insolvent until Sam, like, offered to jump in and like bail them out. And so now that FTX is under, BlockFi as a result is under, because they were only solvent as a result of, like, the role. I think it was like a $250 million like line of credit that FTX extended to them, right?
What's the story with DCG?
It was it DCG or
Genesis, right? Genesis said they're losing like $175 million in loans that they made to FTX.
I think DCG said that they can cover it, though, so at least there's that.
Look, if DCG goes down, then we might as well all just pack it up. Like, DCG, Barry Silbert is him and CZ are the two final bosses. And
I heard USDC FUD yesterday, and one of my friends was like, dude, I'm hearing a little bit of FUD around USDC, and I'm like, all right, this has to be the bottom.
Great local bottom.
But like, let's hear it out. Right? He's like, it wasn't like anything super specific. I was like, are you concerned that, like, the assets are not backed, or, like, are you concerned about, like, them, like, just being able to, like, freeze stuff, like centralization risk? My friend was like, yeah, like, a little bit of both. I don't know. I'm just like hearing rumors. I just wanted to, like, get your take, right? And my take was, and he was like, look, like, I have some value. I want to keep it in crypto assets. Like, what do you think? And I was like, well, if USDC goes under, right? Like, say USDC is not backed 1-to-1. Say it turns out that USDC is only backed like 70 cents on the dollar, right? The price of USDC in dollar terms goes down by 30%. How far do you think Bitcoin and Ether fall in that scenario? Probably more than 30%.
90%. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, you might as well hold USDC because, you know, where do you think Tether goes in that scenario, right? Like maybe it goes above $1 because everyone's like, oh, maybe it's more stable, right? But maybe not, right? So, you know, like in the nuclear winter, like scorched earth world, like I guess you might as well just hold USDC.
That's the summary of this podcast. Either hold USDC or Bitcoin.
Yeah. And I think my friend chose to like do a little bit of both.
It's a great play. So Matt, what are you looking for now as this story?
So here's the conspiracy. Okay. One other player that had all of their assets on FTX was the government of Ukraine.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
Where's that coming from?
Remember when they raised all these crypto donations?
Yeah.
That part's confirmed, right? Like they tweeted it out, like, yeah, we had our crypto assets on FTX, right? Wrecked. Here's the conspiracy part. You have the government of Ukraine's funds being spent on U.S. Democrat politicians by SBF.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds like a truth-seeking fact.
I mean, that's the thing, right? It's like, it's actually, like, according to everything we know, that's pretty true.
It seems quite plausible.
If not intentional, it is probably true. Like with you know, like one part's true, which is that like the government of Ukraine's like money's gone, right? And the other part that's true is that like SBF spent a bunch of money on like U.S. politicians, and it's unclear whether the two are linked or what, but that's the linkage is where the conspiracy lies, right?
That is wild. That is why it's breaking my brain. That has to be where we leave it. Oh man, this has been Conspiracy Hour by the Decent Guy. I'm just kidding. Now we'll be back in
Tinfoil Matt.
Tinfoil Matt. Yes, I love it.
None of this was financial advice, legal advice, investment advice, or any other kind of advice. If you're looking for advice, you are definitely in the wrong place. Until next time, stay decent.